Much of Japan's medieval and high fantasy manga and anime of the 70s and 80s found its influence in the likes of D&D and, to a lesser extent, Warhammer, with their knights, wizards, heavy armor, castles, and crossbows. Early RPGs too looked west at groundbreaking games such as Ultima and Wizardry, taking not only their aesthetics but also game design. The dungeon crawling, party management, open world, and combat all found their way into games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, while the randomized dungeons of 1980s Rogue inspired the entire Mystery Dungeon series. Berserk's creator, Kentaro Miura, began the series in 1989 and has cited Western works as things that sink into the bottom of consciousness, suggesting that a certain flavour of dread and grotesquerie familiar to us had found its way into his own work, notably Conan the Barbarian, as well as the haunting and bizarre art of Dore, Bosch, and Brahul. But when it comes to narrative, it's very much sushi and sake to the West's, cheese and stout. Gone are the tales of chivalric knights, embodying Christian virtues and fighting for the honour of fair maidens, and in their stead are warriors confronting the impermanence of life, the Buddhist truth that all things fade, and heroism is less about triumph than enduring pain and loss through each life cycle. Berserk's guts is trapped in this Buddhist cycle of suffering, and unfortunately doesn't have access to the Silosis album, Cycle of Suffering, which would surely make his torment a little more tolerable. He's forced to stew on a lifetime's worth of trauma and violence, seeking more violence in a quest to find any kind of relief, before enjoying a short-lived moment of peace, often in companionship, which inevitably fades and he returns to violence once again. I guess being born from a hanged corpse will do that to a person. A modern example of this concept can be found in a series heavily inspired by Berserk. In Dark Souls, you fight through a dying medieval fantasy kingdom, and in the end, light the first flame and the cycle of decay begins anew. In Dark Souls 2, you fight through a dying medieval kingdom, and in the end, take the throne and the cycle of decay begins anew. There's another one. What's it called? Armored Core. When it comes to Berserk and games, there are surprisingly few of them. The most recent being Berserk and the Band of the Hawk in 2017. The PS2 game Berserk Millennium Falcon Arc Chapter of the Holy Demon War, which released in October of 2004 and was developed by Yuke's, mostly known for their WWE games, adapts the story from volumes 22 to 27 of the 43-volume manga and is a follow-up to 1999's Dreamcast release, Berserk Millennium Falcon Arc Chapter of the Flowers of Oblivion. So if you're not overly familiar with the source material, you may spend a lot of this game saying, what? The game opens with an event that ended the Golden Age arc, known as the Eclipse, in which the Band of the Hawk's leader, Griffiths, sacrifices them to ascend as a member of the demonic God Hand. His second-in-command and Guts' lover, Casca, is forced to watch their entire army get annihilated by demons, and while the game doesn't show the entire event for obvious reasons, in the manga it manages to somehow become even more horrific as Guts is restrained and forced to watch as Griffith rapes Casca. We haven't even started playing the game yet. Guts wakes up from this nightmare to the cries of his fairy companion, Puck, being buried alive in the snow by Casca, who, following these events, has reverted to a childlike state, and we join them as Guts is making his way to Elfhelm to find someone who can heal Casca. We're then shown the brand of sacrifice, which as the only survivors of the eclipse marks them both to be hunted relentlessly by demons.
客がおいでなすったようだな。
The first fight serves as a combat tutorial and lets us get frequented with the combat. Square is attack, triangle is a heavy attack, X is used to block and counter, circle is a dodge, and R1 locks on. Guts also comes with rechargeable abilities that can be accessed with L1, and include a powerful arm cannon, a crossbow that shoots in a spread, a magic grenade, and a throwing knife.
急ごう、エルフヘルムへ。あそこなら安全だし、いいとこだぞ。花は咲き乱れ、鳥は歌い、エルフは踊る。ああ、麗しの我がふるさとよ。
Well, at least he's lightened the mood a bit. We are set loose to kill endless hordes of snowmen and haunted trees, where the goal of combat is to build up kill streaks for XP that's used to upgrade Guts' health, strength, speed, and abilities. Holding L2 gives us access to ally abilities, though right now we only have a heal by Puck. He's slow and deliberate with his movement and swings. His sword is hefty and its hits impactful, and it feels very pleasing once you get into a nice groove of slicing up the waves of enemies who form an orderly line to their demise. And the way they fall apart after each swing brings a level of immersion and feeling of satisfaction I wasn't expecting from a PS2 game. Further on, we reach an area that triggers a flashback with Griffith, who, after weathering a torrent of abuse from Guts, summons his apostle, Nosferatu Zod, who bears resemblance to neither Nosferatu nor General Zod. This fight's pretty fun, and he's a better opponent to practice countering on. In the second phase of the fight, Zod transforms into a bull, I think, and countering certain attacks gives you the ability to pull off a special QTE move using the arm cannon as long as it's fully charged. It's also a good chance to try out Berserk mode, which becomes available when the glowing symbol beside the health bar is full and is activated with R2. It gives Guts a power and speed boost and looks great if you don't miss any swings.
俺は俺の国を手に入れる。何も変わりはしない。変わりはしない？あれだけのことをやって何も変わりはしないだと！お前は知っていたはずだ。俺がそうする男だと。お前だけは。
Save points appear from time to time where we can level up and read through the glossary of the enemies and characters we've encountered thus far, handy for the less informed among us. Puck also finds a Spriggan and tells us that they give power-ups, so to keep an eye out. Ahead through the snowy terrain, they stop to rest for the night. Guts is awakened by some kind of demon dog emerging from the campfire to feast on Casca. Fortunately, it's just a vision brought about by this Lovecraftian horror and thus avoids the list. We get a deeper glimpse as to the extent of Casca's breakdown when Guts comes close to attacking her when a demon manages to possess him. She currently has no idea who Guts is and understandably fears this personification of violence after the ordeal that she's been through. We're then introduced to three more characters: the corpse-looting thief, Isidro, who idolizes Guts and is out searching for him, the noble, Farnese, and her commoner half-brother, Serpico.
You want to come and Serpico, huh? Who wants a piece of Serpico? Because I'll give it to you!
Farnese was deeply religious, but after spending some time with Guts in the past, her worldview was completely shattered and has since drifted without meaning, with the loyal Serpico following wherever she goes. I guess hanging around with a guy who was born from a hanged corpse will do that to a person. With the blizzard coming down, Guts sees refuge through the hail of snow, spotting a large and lonely manor. A ghostly voice warns him to stay away, so naturally he ignores it and strolls right through the front door. The voice continues with its warnings as we run through the elegant corridors, until interrupting a ghostly ballroom dance and being confronted by the spirits of his former comrades.
壊した僕たちの世界を
よう、久しぶりだな、切り込み隊長。
誰だ？
ご挨拶だな。忘れちまったのかよ。
Guts is bombarded by these manifestations of his inner guilt, asking why he left them and why did he get to live while they were sacrificed. We have to fight them, with each of the 3 named soldiers having a different style, so it's a much more tactical fight than the regular enemies. And upon leaving, the manor reveals itself to be no more than a ruin inhabited by 2 creepy children. With the snowy landscape in the rearview mirror, a chance encounter sees the 3 previously mentioned characters join the party, with Isidro demanding Guts take him on as an apprentice to teach him the art of sword fighting, which he seems very enthused by.
さあ教えられてやろうじゃねえか。あんたの剣の奥義非奥義余すところなく。
で、お前ら何なんだ？
Farnese and Serpico then declare their intent to tag along to help fight the demons, which he seems even less enthused by, thoroughly unimpressed by Farnese's symbolic gesture of servitude.
貴族ってのはどうしてこう仰々しいんだ？好きにしな。
Chapter 2 begins in dark and murky woods, where undead soldiers throw themselves at Guts' sword, and the dismemberment still impresses. These enemies are basically reskins of the previous ones, but are no less fun to cut down. To get past this barrier and continue our journey, we have to destroy several little encampments of undead soldiers scattered around the area and are marked on the map as yellow squares. The introduction of objectives is welcome, but it may change somewhat how you approach the game from here on, as when it comes to your time, it does become quite inefficient to fight everything standing between you and the object marker, and can easily double the length of the level, so it really comes down to how much you're enjoying the combat versus how tired you are of looking at all this brown and your desire to progress the story. With the undead boss dead, maybe, we venture further into the forest, which is home to an army of trolls who enjoy launching themselves and staggering you over and over again. It's a bit of a challenge dodging and blocking them because there's often so many on screen it's difficult to focus on any one of them. The group becomes separated further in and find themselves in a bit of a pickle, but are saved when the witch Shirka appears and throws her hair at the trolls, forcing them back into the woods before disappearing herself. We set off to find her, and Isidro asks a group of local street youths where she lives. They basically call him a dickhead and run away, but while he is quite annoying, he shows his heart's in the right place, worrying that it's too dangerous to leave them out there alone. This entails spending the next 40 or so minutes running from one end of the map to the other, several times. It quickly becomes tedious, and I spent most of that time staring at the minimap in despair of how far I had to run to each marker, all the while being stun-locked by jumping trolls and trees windmilling all over the show. Another variation of the previous mission, it put the fear into me that the gameplay loop for the rest of the game was just going to be a series of very tiresome padding exercises. We finally find Shirka, and she invites us into her home to talk to an older witch named Flora, who says she's been waiting for Guts, and this only feels more ominous after refusing to elaborate. She then tells her apprentice that she must join the group, Though while she is very young, Shurka is extremely accomplished with her ability to travel through the spirit world, and in the series goes on to act as a kind of buffer between Guts, Casca, and the horrors that hunt them. Flora also gives us some items that fill out the rest of our character abilities, including Isidra's magic dagger, which does an AoE attack, Serpico's time freeze, and Shurka's armor spell. After some pressing, Flora tells us that she's been contacted by someone from the spirit world who wishes to give Guts the strength to carry on his journey, and upon leaving, the Skull Knight appears to be that someone, a being theorized as the Guts of his age, a former king who fell victim to the first eclipse, and has spent centuries on his own crusade of vengeance as he tries to destroy the same demonic order Griffith ascended to, the God Hand. We continue on to a village where we are to prepare for an invasion of trolls, and Shurka gives us some of her hair that we can use to communicate with her. Then we're set free to walk around, talking to the villagers and find Spriggans for extra XP. And when I say walk, I mean walk. Guts refuses to break out of anything faster than a casual stride, and maybe the developers were attempting to create a calm before the storm kind of atmosphere, but it makes the exploration of this village a real test of patience. The assault begins and we're sent south to protect a bridge, which Puck suggests destroying by collapsing the tower on it, and I'm not gonna say no to that. A few villagers then find themselves in need of rescuing, but thankfully the developers resisted the temptation to place them at opposite ends of the level. Shurka stands atop the church, performing a spell to rid the village of the trolls, when a giant ogre breaks through the defences, forcing us into a boss fight. Sorry, Ogle. It has a large health pool, and only starts to take any real damage after a prolonged period of attack. When it goes down, a second boss appears in the form of this, horse thing. Shurka does her best to summon Captain Planet, but instead brings forth a massive flood, in which we go for round 2 with the ogre. The water plays a big role here, making it more difficult to move, but also making us difficult to see, and has the ogre swinging wildly in all directions, allowing us to slice him open. In all the chaos, the trolls make off with Casca and Farnese, taking them deep into a cave that our witch warns is the dark realm of the spirit world.
暗くよどんだ心に群れ集う
What? It's a maze of branching paths where the developers find new and inventive ways of padding out the level by introducing teleporters that take you back to the start if you use the wrong one. Nice! Our reward for completing this very satisfying puzzle is another fight with the Band of the Hawk, who are once again conjured by the Ghost Child and are unceasing in their accusations against Guts, showing how much he hates himself for what happened. The fight's basically the same as the first, and upon their defeat we see the children from the ruined manor lurking before they frolic further into the cave. We give chase through another trial and error maze, and our reward this time is another fight against the band. This time, however, they're joined by Casca, Guts, no doubt feeling the same despair we all are right now, drops to his knees with this nightmarish illusion becoming too much for him, and wanting nothing more than to rest in the arms of Casca. After we beat them for the third time, the boy reveals himself as Charles and tells the story of how bandits attacked and destroyed his home, with only he and his sister surviving, apparently living in denial and unable to move on from the grinding disappointment that is life. He has the ability to craft the illusion that we stumbled into, and he blames Guts for destroying it. Now his plan is to destroy Guts.
僕は人の思いを形にできる。あなたが見ていたものはあなたの心の奥底に潜む悪夢。見物だったよ。
まどろっこしい真似しやがって。
逃がしはしないよ。僕の館を。僕の世界をかき消したあなたを。
I've had enough of this wee prick. Not only is he annoying to listen to, but he's annoying to fight as well. With each hit he teleports around the arena, and for some reason the camera sticks close to Guts the whole time, so you can't even see where Charles's projectiles are coming from off screen. Projectiles that, by the way, if hit by, invert your controls. We fight to a very unsatisfactory end that doesn't see him lying in a pool of blood, and I suspect this isn't the last we've seen of him.
この奥がトロールどもの巣です。ファルネーズさん、キャスカさん。シールケさん、ここは一体。
We descend further into the cave network, where it does become a lot more fun to explore. It winds into multiple levels where paths are blocked by giant rocks or sharp drops that require you to manipulate the environment in other areas to progress, such as getting to a higher level to collapse a rock in order to plug a gap in the road below. Maybe it's been trawling through all those straight, boring roads and environments devoid of colour outside a dog's spectrum, and feel about as rewarding as getting fisted, but the layout, aesthetic and puzzle solving in this area breathes some much needed fresh air into this mouldy demon's asshole of a game. The paths are short enough that you can keep hacking away at enemies without feeling like there's no end, and the eerie blue glow lulls you into a state that's almost meditative. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Once the road's clear, we reach Casca and Farnese just in time to save them from a legion of menacing trolls. Guts does as Guts do and tells the group to escape while he holds them off, which has us fighting 3 large waves for about 10 minutes before his bloodlust is satiated. Then we move on to the next level.
Nope.
Charles returns and the 4th fight with Guts' inner turmoil begins. It's much more difficult than before, with the surrounding soldiers now shooting bolts that stunlock you, and Pippin especially has a nasty habit of running right through you. We're treated to a cutscene after each of their deaths, and Casca's makes it obvious that you should leave her till last. After this, an extended version of the opening cutscene plays and further explains the horror that was brought about by the eclipse, including Guts losing his arm and eye in graphic detail. So we move on to meet up with the group.
Oh, no, you don't!
Conjured Griffith is fast and quick to punish the frustrated and frenzied swings that are no doubt being mashed into your controller, but he's quite easy and doesn't take long to beat.
あなたが現実という毒で僕たちの花園を破壊した。あなたさえいなくなればいいんだ。
I'm gonna whip this little bitch in the face!
This is basically the same as the first fight with him. He teleports on hit and shoots inverted control balls at you.
自分にとってかけがえのないもの。
嘘だ。そんな。
俺にはお前にすがりついているものは影にしか見えない。
嘘だ。嘘だ。嘘だ。
He now spends a lot of the time in the air, out of kicking distance, before performing a sweeping attack, and you'd be forgiven for foregoing any kind of strategy and just stomping his head into mush. It's finally time to move on. To the next boss fight. What is happening? Should I be censoring this? Slan, a demon of the God Hand, forms herself from the hundreds of butchered trolls that litter the ground, which is pretty metal and exactly the type of thing I can get behind. She appears to be a very sensual being, who lusts after Guts as if his untamed rage fuels her own unquenchable horniness. The fight involves continuously attacking her wings and getting knocked down by a pillar of innards until they open up to be attacked, which isn't so much difficult as it is time consuming. After taking her health down a bit, she strips Guts of his armour, but before this sentient pile of intestines has her way with him, the Skull Knight appears from the void to continue his centuries-old crusade against the God Hand. 2 extra pairs of wings erupt from the ground to contend with, as well as a stream of ogres to slow you down. The trick is to get a couple of hits in, then let her grab you, which opens her up for a QTE attack that does a lot of damage.
最高よ。あなた。
入り口が埋まっちまってる。
The Skull Knight tears a hole in the nightmare that enshrouds us, allowing us to finally escape. While we were having all this fun, the others were busy holding off trolls while Shurka cast a spell to collapse the cave and end the villagers' torment once and for all. Guts appears through the dust and smoke, and they return to the village to rapturous applause. And after 6 boss fights in a row, this ordeal is over. I really thought it was over. We're let loose into the forest once again, free to kill as many enemies as we want, presumably to ensure we're leveled up enough for the actual final boss. So after running straight through without touching a single one, we return to Flora's house, which is now engulfed in flames. Demonic hippos swarm the area, but we make light work of them while, inside, Flora tells Shurka that she's the only one who can save Guts. The final boss, Grumbeld, is introduced alongside fellow apostle Zod, who in the first phase is impervious to damage, and in a switch up of convention, after we lose a certain amount of health, it's time for Guts' second phase. Flora's mud golems keep the boss distracted while Guts retreats inside and Shurka presents him with the Berserker armor. Once worn by the Skull Knight, it's now entrusted to Guts, and with it comes the ability to deal damage with a fancy new moveset, as well as the realization that we are now Artorias of the Abyss. The first step to defeating Grunbeld is to shatter his shield with some well-timed counters, which is easy. Suspiciously easy. In fact, it's almost as if he's going to transform into a massive dragon or something. I have a good 45 minutes of footage trying to kill this guy, and it was actually the first time I died in the game, and second, and third. My tactic was to stay close to his legs, trying to counter his attacks, which opened up his bonds for a few hits. But he has a lot of health, and for some reason I had a hard time trying to counter his attacks. It seemed to work about 30% of the time, leaving me to get thrown around like a ragdoll for the other 70. You have to utilize all of the character abilities, and will probably find yourself running away to survive while Puck's heal recharges. But the key is not held in skill or tactical nous, nor in dodging or countering. It's simply a matter of swinging your sword with the belief that each hit will bring you closer to peace. So there it is, the Dragon Apostle defeated and the world a little safer. I fucking swear to God. Mercifully, the fight against Zod isn't long or frustrating, and with the main theme tune playing over the top, you can be safe in the knowledge that it is the last fight. It's more of a set piece with the ability to cut his arm off, which he uses as a weapon, but ultimately he ain't got shit against this feral maniac in his new armor.
大丈夫。あなたには分かっていたはず。その時が来たのです。己の行く道を探しなさい、愛弟子よ。命はその姿を変えるだけ。あなたの夢の中でまた会えるわ。
お師匠様。
あなたの巣立ちに祝福を。さよ
なら。
ここまで来れば大丈夫だろう。ガッツさん、ふざけんなよ。
大きいの。キャスカを連れて行くんだろ。
いつの間にか賑やかになっちまったな。
ガツ。
大丈夫そうですね、これは。
キャスカさん。キャスカ？はあ。
俺は最初から心配なんかしてねえけどな。
ういやつよの
うるせえ。お、受けた。
As the group celebrate their victory, they argue merrily about who its new leader should be, as Guts lies on the forest floor bleeding out, where I assume he dies moments later.